Are they like this all the time?
Okay.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
we ready?
Here we go. On air.
On air.
On air.
With student affairs.
Yeah, that's
about it.
That was
That's right.
awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. Okay. Howdy, Ags, and welcome back to On Air with Student Affairs, the podcast that showcases all the way you can create your Aggie experience here at Texas A&M. I'm the host, Morgan Miles, and I am the loudest and the proudest member of the Fightin Texas Aggie class of 2026.
Hey, whoop!
And today I am here with Yell leaders Jake, Josiah, and Luke. And we are so excited to talk about Aggie Spirit and all things Yell leaders. Hey guys, how are y'all feeling?
pretty
Doing
good.
great.
Come
Thanks
on.
for having us.
Electric.
Of course.
Glad to be here.
So let's talk about just being involved at A&M. So whenever you first came here, what kind of things were you involved in, or like what did you want to be involved in?
Yeah, I can start off. Coming in, I was for sure in the Corps Cadets. I think just like the military aspect, the discipline. I knew I didn't want a commission, but I like the camaraderie and like it's called the heartbeat of Texas A&M for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing I got involved in. I also played soccer a lot growing up, so I was in the Corps Cadets club team. So I spent a lot of time there. So those are my two main things my freshman year were those two organizations.
Yeah, freshman year is definitely all about being a fish. But my brothers went here too, so I was able to kind of see what they got to get involved in. So like men's orgs or flows, and those really piqued my interest too. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, like these guys, I was in the Corps for my freshman year, which was a big, it's kind of a big chunk of your freshman year.
Yeah.
It takes up a lot of time. I played tennis in high school, so I also played on the club tennis team for the first semester when I could. That was a good time. And then I was also on something called the fish drill team, which is like a special unit in the Corps. And that took up a lot of time too. So
Awesome. So this is kind of like a two-part question.
Yeah.
So, one, were you always an Aggie? Like, were you always planning on coming here?
good question.
And two, how did you know you wanted to be a Yell leader? Like, was that something you've always wanted to do, or no?
I can start off on this one.
Okay.
So definitely always like thought I was going to be an Aggie growing up. But then we moved around a lot during like my childhood, and then I lived in Ohio from 5th grade through my senior year of high school. So by the time I was about to graduate, like all my friends were going to Ohio State or Cincinnati. So there was part of me that was like really wanting to check that out. But after coming down here for some college tours, I actually came down to visit when we beat the hell out of Bama 41-38. So that was hard to beat. And I was pretty sold on A&M. But as for Yell, I hardly knew what Yell is coming into A&M. I mean, I had parents that went here and I knew like of the Yell leaders. Definitely can't say that I wanted to be one. I really didn't know much about it until time came out to go out for it, and that opportunity was put in front of me, and here we are. But it's been a huge blessing. So.
Yeah, I've always been an Aggie. Definitely, my parents went here, and so I got to see it through them, and they'd take us to games, and it was always a blast. And I remember my middle brother, he had a friend who was a TU fan, and so naturally he became a TU fan. But as soon as he came home with like a Longhorn hat on, my oldest brother and I like stole it from him and burned it.
Dang, that's
made
crazy.
so much fun of him for it. And so he left it in the trash, and we all came here. And being a Yell leader, that was never something I thought I could be. But since being here and getting to see what all it entailed, and especially getting to watch like Jake and Grayson get to do it junior year, just knew it was a way that I wanted to serve the university and have a blast doing it. So
That's awesome. Yeah, so for me, first generation Aggie, my sister, I have a twin sister here at Texas A&M, Maddie. Both first generation Aggies, and like, man, didn't know anything about this place coming in at all. We're playing Missouri here soon, so my mom definitely rooting for them. But my dad went to TU, but even in that, like, he told me that if he would do it again, he would come here to Texas A&M, which meant a lot to me. And there's just a lot of people in my life that like really influenced me, and like they were all from A&M. I remember coming up to A&M for, it was final review for the core, and it was in Kyle Field. I think it was during the COVID era, and it started pouring down rain, and like everybody stayed, like no one left, and I was just like amazed by that. I'm like, man, there's something different about this place. So I was just really drawn to A&M. And just all the values and the culture that was part of it. So, in the Yell Leader aspect, no idea what a Yell Leader was. I was honestly at my new student conference. I was like, man, these guys are weird. It's a little goofy. I mean, that's just an all truth. It wasn't focused at all on it my freshman year, but it was really just really led by some people and like encouraged to go out for the position. And I was just like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And just like prayed about it a lot, and my family encouraged me. So. Incredibly blessed to be where I'm at today. Would never have guessed I'd be sitting here today. So super cool,
awesome.
Especially to be doing it with these guys.
Yeah. Y'all are also cool. Okay. How did y'all decide that y'all wanted to be Yell Leaders, and how has that impacted you like moving forward, like thinking about graduation and like life after?
You're the one, Josiah? You want to start off with that?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do after college. But I think it definitely helps with just getting to interact with so many different kinds of people, and like understanding that everybody has a story, and it's worth listening to. And whatever I decide, I'm just grateful to be at A&M and to get to hang out with, but even just meet the people that I get to, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say for me, I eventually found out about Yell and decided to go out because Grayson actually talked to me about it right before the tryout selection happened within the core. And he just told me it's something that I should, like, just check out. And then eventually went out, and here we are. But as for like what it's allowed me to do, I mean, I'm sure these guys can attest to it too. You just get to see so much, like the people that we've gotten to meet, the things we've gotten to do. Definitely, I would have never guessed, like, gotten to do those types of things. I remember, like, right after we got elected, we got to go up to Dallas and meet the guys from Dude Perfect and, go watch.
Awesome.
It was crazy. So something like that, like, you'd never get to do. And I think all those types of things and places we've gotten to see and people we've gotten to meet since getting elected, it's just, like, compounded. And like Josiah, I don't know exactly what I want to do after graduation. I have ideas, but I'm going to be here for a master's year, too. So I've got at least 3 more in the tank. But... I've enjoyed my time. I wouldn't change it for the world, and like we're just gonna kind of see where it takes me.
Yeah.
But.
For me, no idea what I do after college. Figuring that out.
3 for 3. Let's go.
It's honestly just like it'll figure itself out. Like don't stress too much about it. So especially the Aggie network and the community here. Not too stressed about that. But I mean, there's so much I could say on this one topic. I mean, that's a whole other podcast. But I mean, we've like so many great experiences and like places we get to travel and just experiences that most people don't get to be a part of. Having dinner with the president and like people from around A&M, traveling around to Aggie clubs around Texas, traveling around the nation representing the university. I mean, there's so many cool opportunities, but I think for me, it's like just the life lessons that you learn from it. Like I've learned so much more from this position than I have from school. I think just because interacting with different types of people, like one thing I was talking with the guys this past week about was like we radiate like so much joy to people that like that's a huge responsibility. But like, man, when we're going out, whether we're in uniform or not, like people look to us like as leaders on campus, and like whether it's like a little kid who's like big eyes looking at you because you're so cool, to like an older adult who's like they want to share like they're part of A&M with you.
Right.
Like we have responsibility to A&M in that. And that's such a cool thing that we get to be a part of. The last thing I'll say, just like what really matters is like the people you meet. Like that's what you truly realize that like, man, this life is so short. And like, I think people can get kind of just caught up and like wrapped up in school and like just really like short-term things. But like what matters is people and like that we get to be a part of that and like sharing the experience of what A&M is about. And just to... every single day is like we wake up, at least for me, it's just like, man, this is so cool. I could be a part of this. So,
yeah. So I want to ask, what are y'all's majors since we're on the topic of like graduation and all that?
For sure. So I'm at Mays. I'm doing business management, entrepreneurship with a minor in economics.
Mine's industrial distribution. So it's in the engineering school.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm studying economics, and then I'm getting my master's in finance through the MSF program in Mays.
Oh my God, y'all are smart. Okay. Awesome. So how is being involved in, like, just as a Yell leader and maybe through other orgs, like, how has that changed your perspective of A&M?
Yeah, I'll go first on this. Man, being involved is like so important at A&M. I think they did a study. I forgot, it was like 83% of people who come to A&M are involved in some student organization, which I think, like I said, it's like what makes A&M so unique.
Right.
Is the culture that is here. And that's because our student organizations, I think now over 1,400 organizations on campus. So, I mean, from the core to I'm in a men's fraternity, to just all kinds of stuff that I've been able to be part of. It's like, it's the people you get to meet, but also the experiences in them. And like, again, it comes back to the people aspect. Like so many of my friends, like I have so many friends across campus that like I'm walking to class every day.
Yeah.
I get to say hi to them. And that's what's, I think, the coolest part about it. And it has definitely served us well for this position as well. That those groups have really supported us and backed us, which is I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much that you can do at A&M. It's awesome. And I think like involvement is so closely tied with retention, honestly. And like if you're involved and you feel at home here, then you're going to want to stay here because it is your home.
Right.
And so like being able to find that for myself, like truly a home and a family here is super special. And at the same time, like sometimes involvement can be like so stressed. It's almost like overbearing. And some people just need to be reminded that like it's okay to not think something's cool just because a bunch of other people think it's cool. And it's okay to like find little niche things that actually interest you and get involved in those. And like even if it's not some big thing for your resume, just like doing something because you enjoy it because it's college. And so like I do that. And I just admire people who make time for that. And yeah, back to like what Jake was saying earlier too, like so much of my experience and my growth in college just hasn't happened in the classroom, with all due respect. Like if you're one of my profs, I'm sorry. But it's all about like outside of class and the community and the people, like the leadership experiences, the challenges that we all go through as students, that everybody's gone through or will go through, that make us who we are. And you can't learn that stuff in a classroom lecture, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys hit it perfectly. Yeah, getting involved is like really what makes not just A&M special, but it's what makes this like time of life so special. And A&M is like a particularly great place to get super involved. I think I always tell people, advice I give freshmen is you have to like go out and seek involvement. It's so easy, and I'm a victim of this for sure. And being in the core, I kind of just thought because I'm in the core, you know, naturally all these opportunities are just like gonna come to me, and I can just wait and stuff will happen. And I quickly realized, honestly, through Yell that a lot of A&M has so many amazing things, but you also have to go out and seek those. You have to like talk to people. You have to do research about like what kind of orgs are out there. If something even somewhat piques your interest, even if it's like vague, there might be 10 people in a club, like something that just you're interested in, some niche thing, go check it out. Go have fun with it and see if it's going to be something you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, you could go through A&M and you could get your degree and that's it. And you're not going to look back at these times like and be like, man, that was the best year of my life. This is what I love. Like for it to be something really, really special that you look back on and that really does change the rest of your future, like you have to get involved and make an active step to do that. But if you do that and you choose to put yourself out there, I think it really is life-changing, and it's going to totally set you up in so many great ways, so much more than the classroom can. So,
yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to tie onto that. I feel like also being a freshman or even being like an upperclassman, like it is sometimes hard to find something that can spark your interest, and like also understanding like rejection is normal from organizations and like that it does happen and like that's okay, and that doesn't mean that there's nothing here for you. So to tie onto that with this question, do you have any advice for students who are struggling to find an org or like seeking opportunity at A&M?
Yeah, I would say I can start this one off. One is I mean, Jake's talked about this a lot, but like find people you admire and find people that you enjoy being around, and go spend time with them. Like I think it's really easy to come into A&M and you see these orgs or you see something with like a prestigious name next to it, and all of a sudden you start idolizing the organization rather than the values and the people within the organization. So at the end of the day, just like look at people that you admire, find people that you might talk to that you're like, wow, that's a really cool, awesome person, and just go try to like link up with them, see what they're involved in, and at the very worst, if it's not an org, like you might make a new friend, and because at the end of the day it all ties back to the people. So that's a great start. And then I always recommend, if you're spiritual in any way, getting involved in a local church. No application for a church or anything like that.
Absolutely.
You go in and those are always great ways to get involved, so I always recommend that for any person that's here.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, now on to the more fun stuff.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Oh no, these guys are really excited now.
How do we feel about that? TU, are y'all excited for the rivalry to come back? How are we feeling?
Yeah, oh my gosh, we're so excited for this to come back, especially for us to be like the first group of Yell leaders that get to bring this game back, like here at A&M, and be a part of that is incredible. Like Midnight Yell, the game. I'm so stoked. So I've been on a committee for it, for the whole atmosphere and what's going to go on that weekend. And there's so much planned. It's kind of overwhelming, but like there's going to be so many people here for that game. It's like going to be insane.
Can't imagine.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see like what the temporary population of College Station is.
Yeah, during that weekend.
Insane. It's already too overcrowded, so it's going to be insane.
Oh yeah, the traffic is just going to get that much worse.
Oh my God, it's going to be awful, but I'm excited for it too. Walk us through what game day looks like for y'all.
The game day. You want to touch on that, Josiah?
Yeah, definitely. It depends on the game time and kind of what's going on. So Notre Dame, for example, was a huge game, super hyped up. We had college game day. And so that morning started off at, 5 a.m.?
Wow.
And, of course, we have Midnight Yell. That's where it all begins. The night before, get the 12th man fired up.
So you're running off like no sleep.
No sleep in Red Bull.
Just energy of the 12th man and some Red Bull helps me.
Yeah, it's true. But after Midnight Yell, we all kind of get out of there, get some rest as much as we can, and then we'll have pretty standard stuff before the game, or things like kids yell, maybe stop by a tailgate, try to meet the other Spirit group, welcome them to Aggie Land. And then, of course, the game starts. We're probably ready for the game like an hour early, I'd say. Yeah. Jake's definitely the schedule guy. I don't know why he passed it off to me.
You did a good job, Shia. I think you did pretty solid. I had a couple more things in there. Like, game days are always like fluctuating. Like this weekend, we have SEC Nation in the house for this game. So we're going to make an appearance tomorrow for that. Like this morning, we were shooting some content with Reveille for that. But like, we'll do kids yell always at the Warham statue, and then we'll do spirit walk with the team with the Aggie band. So like walk in Coach Elko, and then we'll dab up all the players, and they'll go get ready for the game, and then we'll go either do marching with the core cadets. But we have like some time in there where like we really want to invest because people are here for the game. So we'll go with the association, the foundation, and just like kind of like pour into some donors and like just be a part of that atmosphere. Then we'll get ready for the game, go over the script, and then we got the game. It also depends, like, if it's a morning game or a night game, too.
Right.
So, like, people think, like, for, like, especially night games, we're busy all day.
Right.
But, like, we're really not. I think, like, 4 or 5 hours before the game is when we start getting busy. But, like, we'll, like, go hang out with our families at tailgates, our friends, walk around at tailgates. So, it really just depends on the game. So, but they are pretty hectic as well. But they're a lot of fun. They go by really fast.
Yeah. So what does it look like trying to balance being a student and being a Yell leader? Because obviously I just now learning y'all get no sleep. It sounds like ever. So what is it like trying to balance that?
That's for me. I've done it for a little over because I was a junior Yell leader too. But what do y'all think now being?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. You could probably touch on this better. So because I knew like after we'd gotten elected. And then I knew going into the fall, like it would be the first semester with Yell. I scheduled my calendar or like my schedule for classes. We usually just take minimum hours. We're still full-time students, but we just take 12. I think I'm taking 13 this semester. And you know how every major has like core curriculum classes?
yeah.
I took all of my easiest core curriculum classes and bunched them up in one semester. So I'm taking 13 hours, and online dance education is a great
I took that
example.
class.
There you go.
great
Come on,
class.
it's a great class. It's so much fun. Not a lot of work though. So,
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, most of my classes like that or like that this semester, and I did that so I could kind of adjust. And looking back, definitely made it a little too easy.
Yeah.
But it's actually been a huge blessing because it's given me time to kind of adjust to Yale and get used to everything. So I think it'll start to ramp up as basketball season kicks off and as we get into the spring and classes are going to get a little bit harder. But Google Calendar, to-do list.
Yeah.
I mean, the typical ways of scheduling your day kind of get me through.
I'll quickly add something on to that, unless you got anything else for it.
You can go.
Like for me, and people are like, man, y'all are just always so busy, and like you always got all this and that. I'm like, yeah, we do, but it's like I think everybody has like their own type of busy. Like people
Right.
can handle different
Absolutely.
things differently. I mean, we do like 350 to 400 events a year alone for the university.
Yeah.
And then we have like other organizations that we're involved in. So, I mean, it can be quite a bit at times. Like, especially like last weekend, we went to Florida. We traveled on Thursday and then we came back like 1 a.m. Sunday morning and then had a
Yeah.
game that day for volleyball. So it can be pretty tiring, and especially like balancing everything can be difficult. But I would just say, like, what I tell people when they ask this question, like, it really just comes down to priorities. It's priorities, priorities, priorities. Like, we spend way too much time on our cell phones or, like, just doing stuff that really does not matter.
Right.
And really take a step back and, like, look at all of your distractions. Like, you'd be surprised at how much time in a day that you just waste.
Yeah.
So, like, for us, like, definitely minimal distractions. But it's, like, from that, like, you really learn to manage your time. And, like, the guys around you, too, and you're like, man, he's doing all this stuff and he has all
Yeah.
that. Like, it like kind of pushes you and challenges you and like to be better.
Right.
So it's cool to be like surrounded by like-minded guys who push each other. So
Right.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine being that busy. Y'all are so impressive. Do
Like
y'all
I
have
said, a lot of
a
Red Bull.
favorite or a funny memory from your time at A&M?
Favorite memory.
there's just so many.
Definitely.
Y'all can definitely
I think
take
for
time to
me,
think.
I know for me, like, I mean, Yale has been such a big part of my life,
I
even
know what you're
though
gonna
it's
say.
been pretty recent. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, we've gotten to do a lot of cool stuff. Like this summer, we got to all five just go and hang out in Colorado. Like that was super cool. Not an A&M memory, but like it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Yale.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, looking back, like the night we got elected was one of the most like special, cool things that like one of the most amazing emotions that's ever gone through my heart. I know we were like kneeling down at the 12th man statue and they're reading off all the names for all the positions that are getting voted in, like student body president and all
Yeah.
that. And we're one of the last things that are on the list. And I remember we're sitting there and our eyes are closed and they just say like junior Yale leader. And I just hear Luke Widener and Kyler Fife and like just the amount of joy that went through my
Yeah.
heart. And then I remember we were nervous. We were like, we really wanted Josiah to get elected too because he
Yeah.
was also the new guy. And then we hear senior Yale leader and we hear like Jake Carter, Grayson Pogue, and Josiah Brantley. And like as soon as that happened, I just remember like we all jumped up and we're hugging each
that's
other.
electric.
And
Yeah.
just the joy in that moment, like that, it's hard to beat that. So that's probably one of my favorite Aggie memories so far.
I love that. Jake?
Oh my gosh. I think back to like, a time last year I was a junior Yale leader. It was like just a crazy sequence of events that just happened. It was during the summer. So we do like, most of our events during the summer, like
Right.
Aggie clubs and all kinds of stuff. So we were at an event for the 12th Man Foundation. So there's like some athletes there and donors. And it was like such a fun weekend. It was at the Marriott Resort, I think. And it was like a lazy river and stuff. So it was already a ton of fun. Play golf
Right.
with like the coaches and stuff. So great food. And then from there, though, we had to go down to Corpus the next day after being 2 days at the resort. And, you know, hard life, right? And so we drove down to Corpus and we did an Aggie club, like right near the ocean, right near the USS Lexington. It was so funny. And then from there, we went to the beach. And the
Yeah.
beach was like right there. We were still in like our white uniforms. So like we like went on the beach and like trying to take a photo. Like no one spoke English. So we were like everybody was like looking at us like, who are these guys? It was like so funny, but we got our photo and then we changed in the car.
Yeah.
And then we went in the ocean. I got stung by a jellyfish. And then we like went to the U.S. Lexington, got called a bunch of sailors because I guess we look like Navy men. Anyway, that was weird. From there, it keeps going. We drive down to Matagorda Bay. And on the way there, I'm driving. And the guys are like sleeping in the back. I see this plane in a field that's like crash landed, like a small jet. I'm like, guys, look at this plane. And like crash landed. There's like fire trucks going towards it.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone was fine, but I guess an emergency landing. And then we went to Matagorda Bay, did another Aggie club. And then we went hog hunting that night with like thermals and everything. And it was just like, what am I doing with my life? Like, this is crazy. Like, I was at the beach, this is a resort, and now I'm hog hunting. It was just like a crazy memory. And then to do it with like the guys last year, it was so much fun. So that was definitely a crazy moment. I just like those times in Yale when you just step back and you're like, man, this is like a crazy life I'm getting to live. And
so
like,
true.
it's like you're very grateful for
Yeah.
it. Very, very grateful that you get to be a part of it. So I think that's what I would say.
That's insane.
Like there's days where it's like, it's kind of a grind. Then there's other days where it's like, this is pretty
This is pretty sick. This is pretty good. They're both awesome, but like,
Yeah. But then there's also days like, what is happening? Like that.
What is happening?
What is actually happening?
Yep.
Yes.
Do y'all have like a most embarrassing memory from your time as being a Yale leader?
Oh, I got you.
I'm excited.
You've been waiting for this one.
Been waiting. So we do fish camps over the summer, and they're a great time. I think fish camp, probably one of my most like fond memories. That's just, they're so fun. It's a great time. And the energy at fish camp is always crazy. But for one of the fish camps early on, it was just not a good experience. I was very like sick beforehand, not great. So I showed up to fish camp and just not feeling super hot.
Oh, God.
And then all of a sudden we realized Josiah had brought the wrong belt. And I didn't, like, we didn't have an extra one. It's my job to make sure we have extra ones. Totally forgot, dropped the ball on that. So Josiah used my belt. And I used this, like, janky fish belt that we had. Like, fish belt being freshmen in the Corps, they have different belts. So I was wearing, like, this weird scuffed belt. I'm sick. I was, like, it was one of the first fish camps, so we were just still trying to figure it out. And then we get on stage, and right when we go on stage, we kind of do this thing where we like, they don't know who we are yet. We're walking out, it's dark, and then the lights come on, the beat drops, and we throw our mops that we have, like our little props, and we jump down. Kyler and I, who's the other junior yell leader, we jump down off the stage and just get everyone fired up. So I remember mopping and just thinking like, man, I feel like crap right now. I want to be in my bed. This is not it, but we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. And then lights come on, beat drops. I throw the mop, and I'm just like, let's do this. Jump off the stage, face plant, just right in front of all these freshmen. And like
funny.
Kyler is going crazy, and all of a sudden I'm just like on the ground looking up, like, okay. We're here now. Let's go. And I just remember standing back up, trying to get the crowd hype. But I think in that moment, I was like, wow, just everything that could have gone wrong.
Just went wrong.
Just went wrong. But we finished it out, and it was a good fish camp like all the rest. But that was a rough memory for sure.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
I know what you're about to say, so I'm really curious.
you may have to stop me. I don't know. So at the Dude Perfect event in Dallas, right? It's at a movie theater. It's like the Majestic or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we show up there. We're kind of there for a full day or a full night of random photos and like videos, different things that they're having us do. And so we were there for a while. And so I had to use the restroom, naturally. And we had this guy, I don't know what his position was, but for the night, he was our handler almost.
Fernando from ESPN.
Not him.
No, it was the other guy.
All loved it, Fernando.
Okay, I think
Some other guy that
I
I've
remember.
never seen since.
Yeah.
Maybe on purpose, but pretty much I haven't really met him other than hello and like we'll be following you all night.
Yeah.
So I went into the restroom, and the way our uniforms work, there's no ease of access, and so I had used the restroom, and the door didn't lock. And so after
Oh, I remember this.
Wait.
Yeah.
I don't remember this story.
I'd used the restroom, I didn't tell anybody actually. It's the first time. But I used the restroom and the door wasn't working. And so then this random guy walks in and I'm just there, like hands around my ankles like a 5-year-old.
Stop.
It was just like, hey, sorry. And then he closed the door and I haven't seen him since. So
Oh,
you asked
my
for
gosh.
embarrassing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
that's pretty good.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm struggling with this question, but
Never been embarrassed.
no.
Bruh.
I mean, if y'all can help me, if y'all have something.
There's one thing I
Yeah?
can think of. I think we're thinking of the same NSC.
There's like
Yeah.
a new student conference, which I guess most people probably wouldn't notice. That's the thing too. Like sometimes stuff happens to us.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like walking into the restroom is a pretty clear.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Other
Sometimes-
stuff like people wouldn't notice except us.
Yeah, like we know like what the right thing to do is, but if we
Yeah.
mess it up, we just try to like
But
play
like,
it
I
off.
have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was one of those.
Oh, I think you're about to say.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a new student conference, and like we were leading yells and teaching them how to do them.
Yes.
And usually we just kind of like rip through them all at once. And you just do one yell after the other. I don't know. Jake just had like a mental lapse, pretty much.
No, I know because I remember I
Explain it
remember-
away.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I don't remember the entire thing. You're going to have to help me. But, like, the freshmen don't know what they're doing, right?
Right.
I mean, it's their yells. The parents love it. But, like,
Yeah.
we're trying to teach them. So, like, they weren't doing their wildcat. So I was
Right.
like, all right, freshmen, remember to do your wildcat.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, so do the wildcat. And then I think I forgot what was next. So what did I say?
Yeah, that's
You were
what it
like,
was.
yeah, you
were-
said it. So then you were like,
You, like,
remember to
glitched
your
out.
wildcat, and then
Oh,
instead
yes.
of doing the next pass back, so the next yell was
I said
farmers
howdy.
fight.
Yeah.
And then you were like,
Howdy.
make sure you do your wildcat, howdy. And then he said howdy, and we're just waiting like, so are we gonna do the yell? And then he does farmers fight, and he's just like, on to the next one. And we're like,
That's right, I did. And we
were
got through
like-
it. We got through it.
we rolled with it, but it was
That's
yeah.
right. I didn't know what to do
funny.
next.
That is
and I said
so
howdy.
funny.
And then I remembered. I was like, we're doing the next yell.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what?
not as cool as that.
Yeah.
though.
I think if you saw it, it was one of those things, like I said, like if you weren't ready for it, it might just go over your head. But we were all on stage like, what is Jake about to say in the middle of this
Yeah.
yell practice? And then just the classic like rolling like on to the next one. It was
It was pretty smooth what they were
yeah,
trying
it
to
was pretty
say.
Yeah.
smooth. It was-
Whatever.
it was
But
good.
I will say something. Okay, this is not really embarrassing. It's just like it's like
It's just like a cool story
it's a
about
cool
me.
story. No, I was embarrassed. It's like when we speak like at midnight yell and stuff. Like sometimes like you just like forget like what you're saying. You just kind of forget. It was last year. It was an away one. I think it was our first away one. Where was it? I don't know. Doesn't really matter.
Florida.
I think it was Miami, actually. It was Miami. And I was giving my fable, and like they're like a lot smaller, like a couple hundred people, if that at times. And I just was like, just forgot it, like mid, and but you know, you can't stop.
Right.
Like Luke and Josiah were saying, like, you just gotta keep going, because no one really knows. So I like took a long pause, and like I said like a sentence, and like I kind of remembered, and I went along with it, and I finished it out. But like, and that happened twice last year, like I just forgot. But like, you just gotta keep thinking and say a couple words in between,
Yeah.
and sometimes it comes back, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't, but you still get through it. So
Have you ever had to like make up something to like kind of
Oh, yeah,
keep
for
it
sure.
going?
That happened to
all
me.
the time.
Really?
All the time. I mean, not all. Okay, not all the time, but definitely. Yeah, like there are speeches we have to learn for the summer, like history of the yell leaders, 4 parts to a yell. And I think when we first learn those, sometimes giving those at events, you just blank and then you just start kind of talking until you get to
Yeah.
a point when you're like back on track, and then you lock back in. So it usually gets better like after we've learned the speeches. It doesn't happen as much anymore, but definitely during the summer when we were like first learning them, definitely a problem for me at least a couple of times.
Yeah.
There's definitely like buzzwords and phrases that if you just kind of roll with them, know what everybody thinks it's normal.
Yeah.
very much
Um,
so.
But it happened to me in a fable at fish camp one time.
Yes.
Did
I think
crazy recovery.
Skipped a whole paragraph, and then
I think it's like the guys in the back started to room Josiah. Like we know because like we listened to it because we practice a lot,
Right.
and we're just like, come on, Josiah. And he did amazing. You did an amazing
It
job.
was the best drop ball into recovery I've ever seen.
Strike.
He got it. It was awesome. So
That's awesome. So, last question. Do y'all have a favorite tradition memory?
man, that's hard.
Or you could even do like
Yeah.
favorite tradition and memory from that. I guess it's kind of the same thing.
For me, this is like, I guess if you could, I mean, Midnight Yell is a tradition here. Like I said, I never thought I could, like, yell would be a part of my future at all.
Right.
So I remember like freshman year and throughout high school, I would go to Midnight Yells like with my family when we would travel down here. And yeah, just seeing like fables, like I always thought that was so cool. Like you get to write your own joke, your own fable, say it however you want. You've got, I mean, for Notre Dame, 45,000 people watching. And when we were deciding who should do what fables for the year, because we kind of discussed that amongst ourselves. I actually really wanted to do the Notre Dame fable because first one of the year, and I just thought that would be really exciting. I've got some buddies from high school that go to Notre Dame as well. So I think getting to go out, and then I remember grabbing that mic for the first time and then saying howdy, and then, you know, the classic line of, I got a story for you, Ags, and
Yeah.
everyone goes crazy. Right after saying that, like, that was one of the coolest kind of things ever, because it was like
Yeah.
a total flip side of that. I remember seeing that all the time, and now I was the one on the mic at Midnight
Right.
Yell, and praise God that it went smoothly, and I thought it was a really good fable and it landed well. And yeah, just anytime we get to do that. I mean, tonight I'll be giving a fable again actually
Hey.
for the Missouri game, but every time step up to that mic and you get to say something in front of a crowd at midnight in Kyle Field to the 12th man that shows out, like that. It's been really, really cool for me. So probably one of my like favorite, I guess, tradition related stories, but that's been super cool.
I'm
Any
kinda-
Are
takers?
you still thinking?
blanking.
I mean, this isn't like a main tradition, but like I think kind of moment.
Yeah.
Tradition is like during home games is when the Spirit of Aggie gets played by the Fightin Texas IE band, and the junior yell leaders get to stand on the alumni side and the student side.
Oh, yeah.
And lead that. There's like one of the coolest memories I have. Like
Yeah.
feelings you do. Like, man, I'm really leading people like doing this, and like eyes are on you in that moment.
Yeah.
It's like an incredible honor and responsibility. One that we don't take lightly, but it's just like so cool. And like people are like, how do you like explain being a yell leader? Like the emotions, it's like one of those things in life where you have to experience it to truly like understand it, and truly understand like why A&M's so special
Yeah.
in that moment. The Spirit of Aggieland, or especially like leading the war hymn, I would say, at like events
yeah.
and stuff. Like just seeing a fan base, but really a family come together and like unite in that is so cool. And like to be the one that gets to like facilitate by leading it is incredibly cool. Those, and I think the last thing I'll say, I'm kind of skipping around, but there's so many great things here at A&M, is like also like my first muster was really special to me and to my story, and to see, especially a university so big as A&M, like to have something like that is just incredible.
Yeah.
And like around the world, like Aggies gather, like no one else does that, like in the nation or really around the world. So that was really special to be a part of that. So I mean, all of those like just again go into why A&M is so special and like so different, and like especially like I'll say, because like I've traveled a lot, especially as a junior yell leader around the nation, like going to different schools, especially SEC schools. Like a lot of schools are just built on their athletics. Like that's
Right.
like their entire culture is athletics,
Right.
which can be kind of shallow at times, especially when your team doesn't do well. And I'm sorry, but life's more than just sports, like
Right.
truly. And like A&M are built like on the family aspect and traditions,
Right.
which is so cool. And like to be able to come back to that and be a part of it, like all right, we might have run out of time this past weekend, but like life's more than that. And like it's family
Right.
here at A&M. So incredibly blessed to be here at A&M and be here and like alongside guys like these to help challenge me and to like just be part of the Aggie Spirit is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think about like the first time we got to do Victory Yell after the game. It was McNeese State, and again, just never thinking that it could be me. And as a fish, old Fish Brantley like running out on the field to go capture a yell leader, and now it's me. Like that's just surreal.
Yeah.
It also honestly takes so much presence of mind not to like die when you're getting
Run
captured.
over.
It's the scariest thing ever. It's terrifying.
Because all these fish have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have something to lose.
Charging
Just
at
charging.
you. And so you kind of go down, but then once they have you, they're like just grab. It's crazy. And then when they toss you in the fountain's like, I don't know, a foot deep at max.
Yeah.
But still, obviously, still so special, and getting to talk with people after that too, that come up and say things. And you're just like, wow, like what an opportunity to
Yeah.
have an impact on people. And like, I just hope, and I know these guys would say the same thing, that like any impact people see in us, like we want to point to A&M. We also want to point it to like Christ in our faith.
Absolutely.
And that's really important to us.
This is so cute. This is so sentimental, guys. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today about A&M and what it's like to be a yell leader. It was awesome. I loved it.
We had a great time.
It was great.
These are awesome.
This is
I love
awesome.
doing stuff like this.
And I hope this episode gets everyone fired up to beat the hell
Come
out
on.
of TU.
BTHO.
Seriously.
Go Ags.
Horns down.
Come on.
For more information on how to get involved through the Division of Student Affairs, go to text.ag/create your Aggie experience. Thanks and gig 'em.
Gig 'em.
Dig 'em.
Dig 'em.